10th. Approval of the agenda. Councilor Norberry.
That all items in the October 10th, 2023 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting agenda be approved as presented.
Seconder. Councilor Noxana. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes for September 11th, 2023 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councilor Dussault.
That the September 11th, 2023 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councilor Clickash. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes, council? Staff?
None, Your Worship.
Report Summer Roads Maintenance Policy Draft. Report dated October 10th, 2023 from the Director of Operations and Infrastructure titled Summer Roads Maintenance Policy Draft for Council's review. Recommendation, please. Councilor Dussault.
That council receives this report for discussion.
Seconder. Councilor Noxana. All in favor? Carried. Who would like to start us off? All right. I have a couple questions. Mr. Woodward, first off, I want to thank staff for bringing this forward, and to me, it's fairly thorough what we're looking for when it comes to high priority, medium priority, and low priority. And it just talks about what streets are high, what streets are medium, and then low. Yep. And then it just talks about sweeping, what the mandate will be for that, and so on throughout the document. I guess my question back to staff would be is an end date. Like, kind of mentioned that when we had the discussion or brought it forward that, you know, whether it's like, and we want to be realistic too with from my side or and not to staff. Like, if it's July 30th, we're looking for that this would all be done by July 30th of each year. To me, what I'm looking for is moving forward. Every year we know that sweeping will be done, line painting, whatever needs to be done within our roads that for that year will be done by a certain date. Besides, and I understand potholes will come up or the crack sealing and stuff like that, but the majority of the work that we see in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Bradley can answer that. Mr. Bradley?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If you look at the summer roads policy, you'll see in each section, I've put in like an approximate 4 weeks to completion. The reason why we did an approximation for time to complete the task is weather dependent. Sure, this year we were able to get out in April and we were very efficient at doing what we were able to get done. But moving forward, if next year it snows May long weekend, that'll delay the whole process. So that's the reason why each task has an approximate time as to how long it takes to complete.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else from council? Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on that then, is there more than, would crews be available to do more than one of these things at once?
Mr. Woodward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can answer that, actually. We've done the municipal maintenance management plan, and there's enough crew members doing all of this work that there's a multiple number of people all doing things at the same time.
Okay, I was just adding up the numbers,
Yep.
and it was not going to be at June 30th on any year if it was not the case. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else from council? Okay, so my thing, I'm still looking, I'd like to hear from council side. Maybe we're good with the way it sits here in regards to the times that staff has put forward, 4 weeks for this, 3 weeks for that. To me, I'd like to see an end date. When we can expect it, and I understand it's weather dependent. We got out on the roads this year in April. Maybe it's not till May next year, but what time commitment do we think it takes to do it? Is what I'm looking for, just so we know what we can expect. I mean, my side would be from the resident side. Councilor Norberry.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I mean, you know, from my side, I'm not a road maintenance person, so it's hard for me to say exactly how long it'll take. You know, we do have some timelines, and I think that is important. As long as we have those timelines in there, I'm content that we can sort of refer back to our residents to say, hey, we can expect this procedure moving forward. So at the current time, I'm content with it.
Thank you. Councillor Noxena.
I would agree that I'm content with the timeline it takes. It's really hard to put an end date when you're working in the weather. If it snows May long weekend, which it usually does, that pushes you back significantly. Or what if it's a wet year and it's raining for a month straight? There's no way that you can paint or put chip sealing or crack sealing in. It's really hard to work around those dates then, and we'd be spending a lot of money trying to reach dates instead of just getting work done when we can through the summer to make it ready for winter.
Okay, appreciate the comments. Okay, anything else from council? Councillor Julik?
Like, are you looking for, like, the intent of the policy? Like, are you looking for, like, the intent is to have the stuff completed by September 30th? Like, is that what you're looking for? Like, I guess what I'm curious about, like, your concern with it, is it because what if something doesn't get done? Like, are you looking for something similar to that?
Yeah, so the reason I made those comments, so I mean, I can't, again, I'm not, and I agree with Councilor Norbury what he said, but if something was to happen, staff, we end up with a staff shortage or whatever, to me, if we have some end dates, that means they can go out to contractors. You know, here's a certain date that we want all this completed. And if they know, oh geez, we got, 3 openings, people have moved on, maybe, knock on wood, injuries or whatever it may be, holidays, that they know what's coming up, that maybe they can go to a contractor if they know they're that far behind. My thing was, the reason I brought this forward previously, and I appreciate staff and the new director. I mean, we got an amazing job done this summer. On it, line painting, all that. I think the town looked fabulous. Previously, when I would see line painting here, was a week before Grizzfest. And to me, to see what they were able to do this year, yeah, next year might be different with weather, but it also might be different with staffing. And that's why I kind of thought of I'm not going to say a kill date, but an end date that they would know that if it's August 15th, and that's why I say realistic date, not something that is mainly on weather dependent, but then they can know that, hey, we're getting close to that. We need to hire some contractors for line painting or whatever, so that it is complete. Lots of comments this year in regards to having the crosswalks done early and stuff. Residents liked it. So to me, I want to keep up on that. And I understand it's weather dependent, and I appreciate what staff has done this summer 100%.
So I guess then what I would ask is, would staff feel more comfortable if there was a date in there, or if there was something saying at their discretion they could go to a contractor?
Mr. Woodward?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor and Council. Mr. Bradley, can you comment on that?
At this point in time, I don't believe that I can comment on contractors doing the work within the town, but I mean, the way that it's laid out in here, these tasks overlap each other as completion is moving forward. So I think I'm really comfortable at this point in time with the timelines that we've given. These timelines come from years of experience. It's just a matter of being able to get out and be efficient.
Appreciate that. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. Like to your point about how well things have been done this year, we can go to Mr. Bradley, but I believe I can speak for them in that, their work this year has what's helped us develop this policy. So, I mean, if we've done a good job this year, we should keep it going. The only other piece of advice, and I don't want to add that in to stop this whole process, would be like a chart. It's called a Gantt chart that has like overlapping what gets done. That might be useful for people to see because, like Councillor Hoffman pointed out, if you just think it happens all sequentially, 1, 2, 3, not like, we're going to work on these all at the same time or a few at the same time, that might be useful for future procedures. But beyond that, yeah, I think it's good.
Thank you for that. Mr. Woodward, staff like to comment?
Mr. Bradley, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Norbury. Yes, that is actually the system that we followed this year, and it was very beneficial.
Cool. Okay, any more discussion from council? Okay. Just before I move it to the next regular meeting for approval, is staff happy with it? they're good with it, we can push it forward to the next council meeting for approval. Mr. Woodward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and council, absolutely. Yes, I believe everything in there that deals with all of the information is sufficient for us to move forward.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put a motion on the floor that council forwards the summer roads maintenance policy to the next regular council meeting for adoption. Seconder, Councillor Clickash. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Draft council remuneration amendment bylaw number 724, 2023. Report dated October 10th, 2023 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding the draft council remuneration. Oh my. Amendment bylaw number 724, 2023 with additional considerations for council. Recommendation? Councillor Dussault?
That council receives the draft council remuneration and expense amendment bylaws number 724, 2023 report for discussion.
Seconder? Councillor Hoffman, all in favor? Carried. Anybody want to start us off? All right, well, I'd like to put it in front of council, have some conversation in regards to this. So this includes our meal allowances and stuff like that. And I think we've all seen it with the increase. And I'll be honest, it's I don't know when the last time meal allowances were looked at or adjusted in regards to council. And I believe if we were to adjust ours, I believe staffs adjust it automatically. If I know that, if Mr. Woodward, would you know that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I believe that that's a separate policy, and it's defined in a procedure as well.
Okay. So this policy in front of us would count that for council side, though?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. So I guess just looking for what council's thoughts are on that in regards to an increase in regards to the allowance, food allowance. I think we are a bit low, and I don't know if staff would know when the last time that was updated, but all we've seen is increases and stuff like that. And it's not about eating out at the Keg or wherever. It's just a general restaurant. I mean, I noticed it in Vancouver this year. I went for fish and chips and a Sprite. It was $49. That was for lunch. So we're seeing the increases everywhere, and just kind of what council's thoughts are there. Councillor Noxana?
I wouldn't be opposed to looking at meal allowance, but I would not be in favor of only looking at ours. I'd want to see the staff one as well and make adjustments at the same time.
Okay. Councillor Dussault?
Yes, I would totally be in favor of looking at the meal allowance. I mean, I have to agree with going out for lunch, and it's, you have an amount, and then you're actually paying extra out of your pocket for that. So I am all in favor for looking at that, for sure.
Thank you. I'm just going to go back to staff quickly here before I go back to council. How would we do this with staff side and council side? Mr. Woodward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we could bring forth both factors at the same time. So you can you're not going to be able to review them exactly the same time, but you'll be able to review one and then review the other.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Julik?
Okay, I would like to respectfully disagree with Mr. Woodward. This bylaw does not include our expense policy. That's a whole other policy. Not that I'm saying we can't discuss it tonight, but that's not the policy that's in here. The policy that's on here is just the bylaw. It doesn't show our expense policy because the meals would be an expense, not our remuneration. So they have included the cell phone here as an expense, and that's where it lists, just a minute, up in as per EO5, council expenses policy.
Yeah, thanks for that, Councillor Julik. I know when I was when the agenda was being drafted, I asked that question. So, Mr. Woodward, for clarification, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll bring all the detail back to another meeting.
Okay.
I think we could do that to make it easier.
Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. So ultimately, like, the way I feel about it is, we shouldn't have to be going out of pocket for expenses for council. You know, whether we're talking cell phones, what have you, meals. So I would be in agreement to take a look at that to make sure that doesn't cost us to go out and attend these conferences. I don't think that's fair for anybody. So.
Thank you. Okay, and I appreciate Councillor Julick there for your information, and like I said, I did ask that question, just maybe it didn't get added. So maybe we should just discuss in regards to it, and I've read through this one in regards to the recreation pass benefits in here as well as cell phone and stuff, so maybe we should be discussing that and then go forward from there. Councillor Julick, you had something else to add?
I was gonna make a motion that we bring EO5 to a PNP meeting, but I can wait until we finish this one and do that then.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody have any discussion in regards to the cell phone recreation pass benefit and such that's in front of us? Councillor Noxana?
I'm going to echo what I've said several times in this chamber. I don't think that we should get recreation benefits. It's a perk that no one else in the district, as far as residents or staff, get unless they're part of specific volunteer or for work organizations that are really in demand. I think it's above and beyond what we should be allowed to take.
Okay, thank you. One comment I'll make is just in regards to passes, we have families and youth marked on here, but to me, it's the previous motions were just for the council member, not their family are not included in that. So maybe we can just make those changes. It's like, if we need a motion, I'll make that we remove the families, the couples and stuff. Mr. Woodward?
Yeah, that's fine, Mr. Mayor. We can delete those.
Okay, council's okay with that? Okay. Any more discussion in regards to those? Councillor Julick?
I would echo what Councillor Noxana said about the recreation pass, but I've said all the things. I will only say one more thing in regards to that. As we discussed how busy the gym was, I think it's something for us to reconsider again as we look at whether or not we're making money or not when we talk about expanding. The next couple of things I'd like to say is that there's other considerations listed here that staff has said may consider an increase to remuneration and extended health and dental benefits. And I'm okay to explore that. I know when I was on the remuneration committee, we got some information from some like communities. At that time, they did include some municipalities in Alberta, which I don't know if that's accurate enough. Like, I don't know that I'm comfortable using their stats, but that would be something staff could bring forward. I have no problem looking at it. I think that it's important for us to consider inclusion and diversity upon council, and I think that means we need to be proactive in the remuneration side of things. So that's what I would like to see come forward. And if somebody else wants to debate the recreation pass again, fine, but I'm not up for it tonight.
Thank you. Anybody can. Just in regards to the other council's considerations, I asked for that to be added, and that was a discussion I've had with other municipalities. Pooskoopi is one of them. They offer town benefits and such like that. So I know previously, and you mentioned it, we've sent it out always asking staff to reach out to other municipalities and what their councillors get, what their mayor gets and stuff like that. But that was never captured in there. So there's other municipalities within the Peace region that also offer up town or city benefits to all their council and stuff. So I do think it's worth looking at it. I think we've always missed that. Not that it was done on purpose. I don't think. It's just, we've asked a certain thing and we got the certain information back. So I guess when we do it, we just need to make sure we get the whole information back. That's why it's kind of added at the bottom, just for discussion from council side. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, I know Councillor Julick, you're planning on putting a motion forward?
I would like to make two motions then. Do you want me to start with one?
Yeah, one first, please. That way we don't get two on the floor.
Okay, smart. I would like to make a motion that we get staff to bring forward policy EO5, council expense policy, so that we can discuss what that looks like.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Noxana, discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Your second one, Councillor Julik?
I would like to make a motion that we direct staff to come back with the bylaw for council remuneration with the information of like communities showing council, mayor remuneration as well as the cost for benefits.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Dussault, discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Okay, anything else from council? Okay. Councillor Hoffman, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that we, I don't think it needs a motion, but to remind staff to include the staff equivalent of the expense policy as well when they're bringing the council expense forward.
In regards to the food allowance?
Yes. I don't know if Mr. Woodward would like a motion, but
I'd put a motion for it because it sounds like it's a different policy.
okay. Then I would move that the staff equivalent of the council, or the staff expense policy, I don't know if that's what it's called or not, be brought forward at the same time.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Noxana, discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Okay, any other discussion? So I guess one question I'll ask back to council is in regards to the new cell phone considerations in here. We're good that coming forward to the next regular meeting? Okay. Need a motion for that, Mr. Woodward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, please.
Okay, I'll put a motion on the floor that council forward council remuneration amendment bylaw number 724, 2023 to a regular council meeting for adoption. Seconder. Councillor Norbury, discussion. Councillor Julik.
I'm just wondering if it would make sense for us to hold off on the cell phone part until we get all that other stuff figured out.
Mr. Woodward.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think I stepped in the wrong way there. I think that we should review the information before we bring the bylaw forward. Then once the council agrees on the information and they want to approve whatever those figures are and those documents are, then we can do the bylaw.
Okay, thank you. So I guess my question, Councillor Julik, would be to you. Is your cell phone being covered at this time?
No, because I haven't sent an expense in, but I totally could.
Okay,
So-
good enough. Okay, I guess best to wait, so we'll call, actually, we can just put a motion on the floor to defer this, but I think we'll get lost. So to me, I think we're better off just to vote it down. So I'll call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's defeated. Thanks, Councillor Julik. Okay, 6.3, draft TR 56, asset retirement obligation policy. Report dated October 10th, 2023, from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding draft TR 56, assessed retirement obligation policy. Recommendation? Councillor Dussault?
That council receives the draft TR 56 asset retirement obligation policy for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Noxana. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Who would like to start us off? Councillor Julik?
I guess what I would like to know, as I see that it is a requirement by the province, I just want to make sure that I'm going to guess that we're in compliance with whatever it is they want, because the rest of it's all kind of French to me. But if we're in compliance with what the province wants, I have no problems with what I've read there.
Okay. Mr. Woodward?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, yeah. If Council adopts the asset retirement obligation policy, they'll be in compliance with the requirements of the province. Chief Financial Officer, want to speak to it as well? Please, thank you.
Through the mayor to Councillor Julick. This is not a provincial requirement. It's actually a public sector accounting board's requirement. And so the auditors would not be able to sign off on the financial statements, which would be the implication is the district would not be able to borrow and they would not be able to go out for grants if not in compliant for their financial statements. So while it's not a provincial requirement, it's still a requirement for financial and clean audit. That being said, we're working right now to find out the information, make sure we have everything in order by the December 31st deadline. The implication is moving forward, there will be money that'll be having to go into a reserve fund to do the work for the asset retirement obligation. So this was sort of also, the policy gives you the heads up that part of the budget, which will be a requirement, is funds to be put away until the end of the asset's life so we can do remediation work. It's all along being good stewards for the community and the environment.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Councillor Julick?
So just to be clear, that means we're in compliant with what PSAB wants then? Like, that's my biggest concern is that we don't approve, like, put this forward to our next regular meeting to approve it, to have it to come back. Like, if we've made sure we've ticked all the boxes, cool beans.
Yeah, so it's ongoing to
Okay.
make sure of things. So this year, it'll go forward to the thing, and then like staff had mentioned in regards to there be money in the budget to be set aside for all this stuff to be looked at, whether we have underground fuel tanks and stuff like that in regards to storage in other areas of the community. Councillor Clickash?
Yes, Your Worship. Does this include buildings that got asbestos in them?
Mr. Woodward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the Director of Financial, our Chief Financial Officer can respond to that. Thank you.
Through the mayor to Councillor Clickash, yes, it's asbestos in buildings as well, so remediation of that type of work. So gas tanks, asbestos are the two largest ones to be done. However, it does not include, which it wouldn't come into play here, is asbestos concrete pipe. It's no longer as part of it because it's pipe that was in the ground and been abandoned or is currently being utilized, wouldn't be considered. But yes, asbestos in buildings and underground fuel tanks. Landfills are the other one as well.
So this would include the asbestos insulation in the Public Works building and inside the block and the fire hall?
Mr. Woodward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do the Chief Financial Officer respond, please? Thank you.
Through the mayor to Councillor Clickash, any place that there is asbestos would be having to be recorded. Remediation estimates would have to be for the end of life of the assets calculated, and then, yes, funds put aside.
Follow up?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, I'll take the second recommendation. Councillor Noberry?
That the draft TR 56 asset retirement obligation policy be forwarded to a regular council meeting for adoption.
Seconder? Councillor Dussault? Discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. TR 28 Grant and Aid Policy Review. Report dated October 10th, 2023 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding TR 28 Grant and Aid Policy Review. Recommendation. Councillor Dussault.
That council receives the TR 28 Grant and Aid Policy Review for discussion.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Who would like to start that conversation? Councillor Dussault?
Thank you for putting together this report. First off, one of the questions I did want to ask about this report, I noticed that everything does come back to the CFO. And with us giving out a lot of money, I don't know if this is the right question. You can stop me if.
No, ask away.
But as a council member, when we give all this money, should we not as a council be inquiring how the projects are going and what is happening? And not just the CFO?
I'll go to staff in a minute. Majority of it, they receive the information that comes back to council. So whatever group or society comes forward looking for a grant and aid has to supply certain criteria as per our policy to staff. Staff goes through it and makes sure it meets the criteria that's needed. And then the grant would come forward for council's approval with updates coming back from the organization back to staff, back to council. But I'll confirm that with staff. That's Mr. Woodward.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is correct. Yes, thank you.
Councilor Dussault?
Okay, thank you for that. I just wasn't sure. Thank you.
No, great question. Okay, any more? Councilor Julik?
All right, well, if it's supposed to come back to council after the project is completed, I've been on council for just about a year now. I've never seen anything like that. Is that your experience, Mayor Kakauka and Councillor Norbury, or is that something we've fallen down on?
I guess it depends what the grant aid is for. So to be honest, we'd have to go back, look what the grant aids are for. A lot of times it's for, we call fee for service and we have grant aid and a fee for service now. So a little bit of confusion there, I think, a lot of times when people apply as well. But normally, if it's for a project, I have seen it come back to council with an update. Normally, the budgets go back to staff. Staff goes through to make sure the criteria was met. But it does normally come back in front of, I have seen it. I'm not sure if there was anything from this year in regards to grant aids that should have been coming back to council. And if it is, when it's coming, I'm not sure.
So generally, it would come back with a report saying that the grant money was paid out and the project was completed with a report from the people who received the grant. Is that what I'm understanding?
I've seen it not quite that way, but I have seen it. Mr. Woodward, just get an overview, please.
Yeah, that would be a report by the organization, and there would also be an additional.
Yep, he's not speaking into his mic.
Chief Financial Officer, or the CAO, or the project manager. You can't hear me?
No, you're on, but I can't.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you. So what I was saying was that, yes, we'd get a financial report, we would get a performance report by the organization, and probably we would get comments or a report by whoever was looking after that.
The battery must be dying.
Yeah, battery's dying.
Can we take a 5-minute break, please? Is it?
Could I ask the CFO to speak to that, please?
Through the mayor to Councillor Julick. What happens quite often is the committees, when, for fee-for-service kind of types of agreements, they bring it with the financials when they apply for the next year. If it's an ongoing project, multi-year project, they'll send in a report when they are doing the application for the next year. We've also had them come as delegations quite often, speaking on the projects and reporting on how they went.
Okay, Councillor Clickash?
Yes, Your Worship. I've seen instances where the last year that they received grants and filed with the federal government, that they still had like $10,000 left in their grant, and from the town, the grant from the town, $10,000 left, and we're applying for another $20,000 or $22,000. And when they file with the federal government, well, they show that. But do we check that?
Mr. Woodward, I'm not sure if your mic's working. If not, we can go to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll go to the Chief Financial Officer. She can respond to that.
Through the mayor to Councillor Clickash, that would be a federal. I wouldn't have privy to that information. Now, if it was a fee-for-service, typically if there's an audit done, I have to sign off on funds that are required to be paid to an organization. So during an audit process, they usually ask for outstanding amounts, and those amounts are signed off by the district.
Follow-up?
I've known of incidents where this must not be happening because they still have $10,000 showing in their account and they're getting another $20,000.
So I guess,
It's happened where it's multiplied into over $40,000. So I'm wondering if that money gets transferred back to the town or is it just carried on?
yeah. So I guess the main question would be, and understand we have some new staff and department heads. Are we making sure the financials, when it comes to grant and aid, are being submitted? I guess that'd be the question. Mr. Woodward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor and Council. Getting back to the Chief Financial Officer.
To the mayor, yes, we make sure there's financial statements. You would be taking a look at those financial statements. They also should be giving a summary, if it's a grant and aid, of what the project cost was. And if there's surplus funds, as per this agreement, they're supposed to be returning those funds.
Follow-up?
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I was going to speak to Councillor Julick's question about do you receive reports back from all grant and aids? Not all of them. And, you know, for myself, as long as everything goes according to plan, that's great. You know, we do hand out quite a few grant and aids, fee for services. You know, sometimes these organizations are limited in manpower. Unless there's an issue, you know, I think if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, don't need to burden them with another report. Unless there's issues, overages, postponements. That's what I'd be looking for information back.
Thank you. So I guess from you know, and I can't speak on behalf of Councilor Julick, but just kind of dialogue this a bit. I think anytime somebody applies for a grant aid and staff, correct me if I'm wrong, please. Going into from 2023 into 2024, financials have to be supplied. So if there is money left over, it would be in the financials that staff would record. There could be a reason why there's leftover funds in grant and aid. Now, when Councilor Judick, you ask about, do we get reports? Well, some of it, and staff had already mentioned, sometimes it's a delegation that comes in, whether, and, you know, Geopark's one of them, the museum's another one. They're not grant and aid, obviously, they're the fee-for-service side of it. But even others, some of the other ones, and I'll be honest with you, I can't remember all the grant and aids off the top of my head, but I've seen some of the grant and aids actually come back into the district. Now, Tumbler Ridge Mountain Bike Association, can't remember if it's a grant and aid they got or if they got a fee-for-service in regards to covering their insurance costs for so many years. And it might have been a fee for service. So sometimes they dialogue back in with some of the programs they've offered or some of the stuff they've done, but not about the insurance that's covered because the grant and aid wasn't significant besides what it was for. Is there a certain organization that you're asking about or thinking about? Councillor Jilek?
No, I guess for me, I feel like as a town councillor, I have a responsibility to make sure that the funds are being used. And while I agree with Councillor Norbury, often when people are coming for a grant and aid, they're probably a little bit short-staffed. And for me, it's more a matter of, okay, for example, let's take the Snowmobile Association, and I'm just picking on them because I know that they got a $10,000 grant and aid for a snow groomer. I guess what my expectation would be, or what I would hope as somebody who gave, was responsible for giving them taxpayers' money, is that I get a report as simple as, you gave me $10,000, here what we spent on this groomer as we said we were going to buy. And that would be it. Whether that just goes to the CFO or whether it comes back to us as a consent agenda item, just to me, because then it's showing transparency. A fee for service is a little bit different. And I understand that because I think about the visitor information center, there's so many pieces that go into that. But I think a grant and aid is fairly simple, because grant and aids, from what I understand from this policy and from what I understand, the idea behind it is a one-time piece of one chunk of money. Like, we don't give a grant and aid to operate, I don't know, the vending, the concession, for example. We give a grant and aid to buy a snow groomer or whatever. So I think a grant and aid, we should be okay to be able to ask for a financial statement or even just something short and sweet that says, we spent your money, thank you very much.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And you're right in regards to the differences. And fee for service came out of the concept of all these grant and aids that were going on for 3 years. It kept on coming back. So I think staff picked it up on, I remember that when the fee for service came into the community or into the district side of it. Now, when you mentioned the one organization, I know when that was, I don't remember what year the grant and aid was given, but I do remember them. I won't say they came into council, but we were well aware of what was purchased. I actually believe it went by town hall, the groomer, when it was purchased by that group. So I don't remember them. I mean, I'm assuming staff may have their financials and stuff, but I remember seeing it and stuff like that. But Mr. Woodward, just in regards to the financials and stuff after an organization gets a grant and aid and what they submit back to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Financial Officer, can respond to that?
Through to the mayor, as it included in the policy in 4.52, it's a final report at the end of the project program is going to be submitted to the finance department. So that's what we'll be looking for. And in that finance report, which is required 90 days after the completion of the project, it's going to have a full description of the implementation of the project program event for which the funding was approved, and it'll include all the financials, et cetera. So it's already part of the proposed policy.
Okay, and I guess just clarity, I guess, from our side is, are we seeing that being completed? I know you're, again, we're looking for you to dialogue from information from you before you got here. Have you seen that background paperwork within your office?
Through to the mayor, I haven't had a chance to look through that. I've seen the applications. It seems to be one file is definitely the applications on that end of it. I do know for myself, coming through to the end of the year after we've made final payments, my intention is to reach out to ensure that we have this. I can't speak to the past.
Okay, appreciate that. Councillor Clickash?
As your worship, well, if it takes 90, if they got 90 days to file and they're already applying for a new grant, for, say, $20,000, and they haven't filed their final usage of the last grant, well, how can we give them a new grant?
Yeah. I guess my question back to Councillor Clickash would be, are we talking grant and aid or fee for service?
Grant and aid.
Okay. Are we talking about a certain organization? Like, I think it's hard to dialogue this without the information, because I know there is some that we think are grant and aids, but they're actually fee for services.
I don't want to mention them right
Okay,
now.
good enough. Council Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I don't think it's unreasonable to have somebody report, and I can appreciate our CFO's comments about the final report requirement for grant and aids. And it does say in there, Councillor Clickash, that if further assistance may not be provided if the organization doesn't, until the report has been received. So I can't really speak to the situation you're referring to, but I think like what you're talking about is covered in this policy to prevent that issue from happening, right? So, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Julik?
I guess what I would like to see maybe is to make sure that organizations that have a grant and aid understand that this is going to be an item that I know me as a counselor, I'm going to be asking more about. It's hard to give you a specific, I absolutely know the difference between the grant and aid and fee for service, and I'm glad that you're bringing that up. And when I used the snowmobile club, it's just because I knew that was an example of a grant and aid policy that we had. So from what I understand from Ms. Wayner's explanation, in the policy, we do have that part in there, but I would like the policy to read that it has to come back to council. And the only reason I would like that is so that taxpayers see that that's what's happening. And it could be as part of the consent agenda, because if they're reporting back anyways, and then I think it makes it so it doesn't get lost, because I feel like it has gotten lost. And so if this is something that we need, and we know when we're doing grant and aid, like when we're in budget and saying this, then we know that that person or that group has done that. Because I think it's only fair, especially if, we turn anybody down. To me, just that they know this. So I just think we just need to tighten up on some of this stuff as we talk about going forward into budget season.
Thank you. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, if we're going to make changes, this would be the opportunity to add something. Councillor Julik, you'd mentioned one thing that you would like to see added.
I don't know if it needs to be added. I guess I would look to staff to see if they want it added, unless it's a matter of just putting that at the end about that the report would go back to council as part of their agenda.
Yeah. Like
So I make a motion. Okay, I make a motion that we ask for the grant and aid policy to include a report going back, a report after the project is completed to go back to council.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Dussault, discussion? Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. I would actually like to see this go through at least one full cycle before we start changing it. I mean, if we watch what's going on here, and our new CFO has already said that she hasn't had a chance to go through that side of things, it may be functioning well, particular issue aside, and maybe that's necessary, that if we don't feel comfortable with what's going on, that we actually bring it back to council, but we haven't even confirmed that there's a problem yet. There might be a problem, maybe, but we can't. I don't think it's worth trying to step on every problem before it even shows up. So without the way I read this policy, I'm fine with it as it is, and we could always demand something specific from staff if we have an issue coming up. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just before I go to Councillor Julik, I think what Councillor Julik is looking at is adding it in so council actually gets to see. So after we approve the grant and aids through budget debate, we get to see the end result. So staff would get the report, but not instead of staff just keeping the report. I believe she even mentioned it at the beginning, it coming into correspondence. Just so that we see what it was done. I think that's what she's looking at adding. It's not saying that there's something wrong. It's just, here's the policy in front of us. This is the opportunity to make changes to the policy before it's approved. Just like the previous one, why we held off the changes until the whole thing comes back in front of council. Councillor Julik?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that, Mayor Kauka. It's not that I see that there's a problem at all. I think my intent behind the motion is to offer transparency to ourselves and to our taxpayers.
Okay, any more discussion on the motion? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. It sounds reasonable. The only concern that I might have is, we're going to have some, I'm just looking at the the final report, and I'm concerned about financial details or, particulars. We're only getting information that's pertinent to the project and not the organization's financial positions or anything like that, right?
Yeah, we'll have the motion right back out because that would be my concern too, but yeah, Mr. Weber, if we could just get the motion right back out, please.
That we ask staff to add that the final report goes back to council.
Okay. Thank you. So now if we want to maybe amend that, just to state that we're not looking for the organization's financials, that we're just looking for the end result of the project. Councilor Nobre?
Thank you, Maker Calc. I'll make amendment that we only receive financials that are pertinent to the actual project, not of the organization.
Okay, second to the amendment. Councilor Dussault. Discussion on the amendment. Okay, call the question on the amendment. All in favor? Carried. Is there any more discussion on the amended motion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Councilor Hoffman, sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Just trying to wrap my head around what is my problem with this. For whatever reason, I'm not liking this. I'm wondering if the rest of council will be more comfortable if we just simply remove all financial information and just have a result, successful or not successful, continuation, something on that level, so that we're not delving much into it, but just having that sort of check mark of it was reviewed, it's all right, or not all right.
Council?
I see Council Chulik is not too thrilled with that. So.
Councilor Julik?
You are right, Mr. Hoffman, or Councillor Hoffman, because the exact money is what they've asked for. And I think that if an organization is coming forward and asking for $10,000 for something, they should be more than comfortable to show us that they spent the $10,000, period. Like, I think it's okay for them to show a detailed summary of what it was that they spent it on. I absolutely agree with Mayor Kakalka and Councillor Norbury. I don't want to see all their financials. I just want, if I gave you $5,000, what do you spend the $5,000 on? And if you can't, then that money should come back to council. Like if you weren't able to use that money, rather than it going back in the bank account. Because our town is too small. Everybody finds out sooner or later. So I'm not sure how that feels for you, but I want to see the breakdown of how that money was spent, specifically on that grant need.
And just for clarity, when you mean if they don't spend the money, it comes back to council, you mean back to the district? Okay, just wanted to confirm that. Just because it was worded and it's we're obviously being transparent. Just want to make sure we knew that it was to come back to the district side of it. Okay, any more discussion in regards to the amended motion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, take the recommendation number 2. It would be the amended policy though. I guess just before I get that, that's enough time for staff to be able to amend that. I don't want to put pressure on. With the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll try for the sick.
We can't hear you.
Do you need it?
You have to turn it on and off, Brian.
I think you have to unplug it.
No, you just have to turn it on and off because it's charging right now.
Yeah, we've been doing that.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
No. Okay, 5-minute recess. Live. Okay, Mr. Weir, we're just wondering, like, we've made an amendment to the policy that was put in front of us. Before we go to the second recommendation that staff has put in front of us, would that give staff enough time to make that amendment on the policy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. We should be able to bring it back by the 16th. Failing the 16th, we'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I'll make the motion that council forwards the amended TR 28 grant and aid policy to regular council meeting for adoption.
Seconder? Councilor Dussault. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, TR 40 fee for service policy review. Report dated October 10th, 2023 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding fee for service policy review. Recommendation. Councilor Dussault.
That council receives the TR 40 fee for service policy review for discussion.
Seconder. Councilor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. Who would like to start us off with the discussion? Councilor Julik.
Hi, this actually isn't in regards to the actual policy. What I would like to see in the future, if possible, is when we have a policy that comes forward that's being revised, that we have a markup on it to see what it is that staff is proposing changes for. Otherwise, it's a matter of getting the old policy out and comparing page to page. So I understand when it's a complete overhaul, and I'm content with them saying it's a complete overhaul. It's difficult, though, to see some, like, where the changes are when it's just given back to you in draft form. So my preference would be as if they could give me a markup copy.
Okay, be honest, normally I think it's, normally when we have changes to a bylaw or policy, it comes in red. I just think that was, missed or there was not a whole bunch of changes. I can't answer that 100%, but I did ask that question from when it came out of the regular meeting. And again, having it in red for the changes makes it easier than going back and forth on my laptop. But well noted. Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay. Take the second recommendation. Councilor Norbury.
That council forwards the revised TR 40 fee for service to a regular council meeting for adoption.
Seconder. Councilor Hoffman. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. My apologies to staff, by the way, when I first was reading these, I thought it was the next regular council meeting, and it doesn't say that, so my apologies. That's why I had that question, so my apologies to staff. 6.6, 2024 council meeting schedule. Report dated October 10th, 2023 from Director of Corporate Services regarding meeting date and time options for council consideration. Recommendation, please. Councilor Norbury.
That council receives the 2024 council meeting schedule report for discussion.
Seconder. Councilor Clickash. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I'm still in favor of Mondays at 5. Yep, I mean, I know I've rearranged my schedule and in all factors to be Mondays at 5, and still works good for me.
Okay, thank you for that. So this is one thing I asked staff to bring forward, and the reason I asked staff to bring it forward before we had a calendar drawn up and then try to change it after they spent all that time was to discuss just what Councilor Norbury had talked about. So my thoughts was it seems like majority of our holidays fall on a Monday. So we're constantly moving the schedule or the meetings to Tuesdays. So I was, and Councilor Norbury's already spoke, but my thoughts were that maybe we should be looking at Tuesdays at 5. One, it stops staff from having to, whether it's re-advertise the meeting because we realize that the stat has fallen on a Saturday, which means that carries over to a Monday for them. So now we have to re-advertise the meeting that we've already booked because of a stat that fell on a Saturday, now move to a Tuesday. So that was kind of the reasoning. I was looking at maybe what council's thoughts were, and appreciate Councilor Norbury's comments. Councilor Julik?
I take your point, Mayor Kakalka, and I'll be honest, when we may change them to a Tuesday, I'm not always sure. So I sometimes double book myself on the Tuesday. So I will be honest, when I see that they've already figured out that 10 meetings are changed due to the statutory holiday, I am content to change them to Tuesday at 5. But I also know that my schedule is a little bit more flexible. Tuesday would be the only, like Wednesday wouldn't work for me, but Tuesday would.
Thank you. Councilor, sorry.
There we go. Tuesdays for me would be okay as well. I mean, I agree with all the holidays that we're having on a Monday, and that's a bit more, I mean, I am flexible as well, but I think Tuesdays would work a lot better.
Okay. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. So I see that there are 13 statutory holidays, that 10 fall on Monday. Does every single statutory holiday coincide with the council meeting?
No.
I don't think so. So the reason why I bring it up is that I have work commitments on Tuesdays, and I would need to, and I've already set my schedule for the year, so that would mean that I would need to change my program delivery for the community. And then if we move it to a Monday, like from my perspective, then those get canceled for the community. So end of the day, make it work. But I know when, I signed on a year ago, it was Mondays at 5. So.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate those comments, and this wouldn't be a quick change. It wouldn't come into play until 2024. So I'm not sure if that was where some of your concern was, or that, like when it's having a councillor move it, and I totally understand it, but it doesn't come into play until 2024 if it decides to get changed. Councillor Noxana.
I'm going to have to echo what Councillor Norbury said. I make Mondays at 5 work with other commitments, and our family does have community things we're involved with Tuesday evenings. Not that we can't make it work, but I think Mondays work better for us. And as for the time, I would absolutely move earlier, but I know that doesn't work for everyone's work schedules. I am not in favor of moving later. When I see 7 p.m. start times, that is horrifying to me. Horrifying, just so everybody knows.
No, I agree with you. I was looking at time. I just thought I'd put it in front of councils, and I'm good with Mondays as well. So just so it wasn't that Mondays don't work for me, but Tuesdays are better. That I'm open. I can meet any day of the week. My thought was with the stats. We're constantly moving them anyways, and to me it hinders staff sometimes too when we move them in regards to the agenda. But whatever council wants, just so that it can come forward in regards to the new meeting schedule for 2024. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. And to my mind, when I read this, if anybody would had an objection, I was basically going to side with that. I'm flexible as well, even 7 p.m. if it came down to it. But no, if we have more than, especially if we have more than one member of council that would like to leave it at Monday at 5, that's what I would support as well.
Okay, so we're all good with Monday? Yep. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I'll make a motion that council direct administration to prepare the 2024 council meeting schedule meetings to be held Mondays at 5.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, German. Councilor Norbury.
That the October 10th, 2023 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting be adjourned.
Seconder, Councillor Dussault. All in favor? Carried.